Welcome to our world and your world of green matters. This week, turning trash into beauty in an African oasis. And an old friend comes to the aid of frogs. But first, scaling new heights in environmental standards. It could be straight out of The Sound of Music, but it's not Salzburg. It's the Principality of Liechtenstein, the last German-speaking monarchy in the world. Snuggled between Switzerland and Austria, it's Europe's fourth smallest country, covering an area of only 160 square kilometres. But despite its size, the country is a world leader on environmental issues. By the middle of last century, it had passed laws covering water and land conservation, and in the early 70s, covering air pollution. Since 2001, Liechtenstein has worked closely with Austria and Switzerland in monitoring the air quality of the Rhine Valley. An air station operates in the town of Hinterschellenberg, which has a high elevation and an unobstructed view of the Rhine Valley on both sides of the Rhine. Its topography, air pressure and climate make it particularly suitable for monitoring harmful air pollution. Particulate matter, also known as particle pollution, is a combination of liquid droplets and tiny particles, which may include acids such as nitrates and sulfates, as well as organic chemicals, metals, soil and dust. It's mainly caused by vehicle emissions, industry, smoke and power plants. The three countries work together to monitor and analyse the levels, hoping to identify the sources of the particulate and then reduce the pollution. Permanent measuring stations are in place in each country, and a mobile unit is also used on highways and country roads. Results from two parallel Rhine Valley highways, one originating in Switzerland and the other in Austria, vary in composition. This clearly shows the benefits of the greater usage of diesel particulate filters in the Swiss vehicles. In Liechtenstein, the vehicle emissions are another story again. In 2003, a new fuel station opened in the capital, selling compressed natural gas, or CNG. With its sleek modern design and futuristic appearance, it immediately got a reaction. Unlike conventional fuel stations, only the pumps are at ground level. All the major components, compressor, pressurized tanks and electrical unit, are housed in a large UFO-like container 5 meters above the ground. Now this type of fuel station is a common sight in Liechtenstein. The country has the highest density of CNG stations in Europe, with one located every 9 kilometers. The state-owned bus authority has half its fleet running on CNG. Many of the government and private vehicles also run on natural gas, which has far lower emissions than diesel vehicles, filtered or not. The government has taken steps to further reduce emissions by encouraging businesses and households to switch from using furnaces and change to renewable energy sources, with a strong emphasis on solar. Although it's only a small country, the government believes Liechtenstein has an active role to play on the ecological world stage, participating in international agreements, working cooperatively with its neighbours, and aiming to set standards for others to follow. Skinnengrove is a small village on the northeast coast of England. Once there were 86 mines in the region, when Teesside was one of the iron and steel centres of the world. The last of the old mines closed 40 years ago, but still the rivers are stained a reddish colour by ochre that leaches out of the old mines. It coats vegetation, clogs fish gills, and when it feeds into town water supplies, blocks pumps and sewers.
Ochre is iron oxide, so ferric hydroxide, and it forms as rust really, on rocks and vegetation in streams that are affected by mine waters. The ochre is quite environmentally damaging. It isn't toxic as such in this case, but it can be. But what it does do is smother everything in sight.
Environmental controls mean the ochre residues can no longer be landfilled. Researchers at Teesside University instead have come up with a way to collect and reuse the sludge. Their solution is to pump the ochre as slurry and filter it using special geotextile bags which extract solid iron oxide, returning clearer water to the river. The iron oxide can be used in the magnetic layer of CDs and DVDs, and it can also be used as a component in cement making. In addition, the ochre has attracted interest from an unexpected quarter.
We've got a local potter involved with some trials looking at whether ochre can be used in glazes for her pottery, and we're quite hopeful that this is the case and it will produce a unique product which has an association with Skinny Grow.
Village residents are delighted with the pottery creations that make use of their ochre.
Since we've experimented with the pottery, the amount of enthusiasm shown in the village from, in particular, the elderly generation. You know, to see a red stained river and then see a piece of pottery that's been made from the ochre, they're sort of gobsmacked.
Whether as pottery, cement or DVDs, Skin and Grove's Red Scourge is now a green tick for the environment. Perched on the edge of Siberia, Harbin is known as one of China's coldest cities. But things have changed here, as in the rest of China. With a booming economy has come pollution, an overabundance of cars and rising temperatures. For 24 years, Harbin's Ice Lantern Festival and Snow Sculpture Show have brought in tourists from all around the world. In the city's Shaolin Park, competitors gather for the ice sculpting contest, where they're given 3 days to carve, chip and sculpt. But the city is no longer a winter wonderland. 2007's average annual temperature in the city was 6.6 degrees Celsius, the highest average on record, and uncomfortably warm for ice sculptures.
We are worried about because our sculpture are quite intricate, so we are worried about the thing will collapse. So we try to readjust a little bit.
I lived in Hong Kong for more than 10 years and in Canada for more than 30 years. I think the weather has been changing all the time. When I first got to Canada, it was so cold, but now it's getting much warmer. Maybe, slowly, Vancouver will become Hong Kong.
At the Heilongjiang Meteorological Observatory, experts have been closely monitoring climate change for over 40 years.
In the beginning of December 2002, ice lanterns in Harbin melted right after they were sculpted. What came out of the work was sloppy ice sculptures. Same thing happened in 2006. Lots of money and energy was spent on redoing the sculptures. As the temperature rises, the period of ice and snow activities has shortened dramatically.
Climate change is hitting China hard, with water shortages and shrinking glaciers. Rapid industrialisation and growth has China now set to overtake the United States as the world's top emitter of CO2. Meanwhile, participants in Harbin's ice sculpting contest have managed to beat the heat this year, but for how much longer remains to be seen. At a recent press conference, a joint American and British team of researchers unveiled a new map of Antarctica. The Landsat Image Mosaic of Antarctica, or LIMA, is expected to revolutionise research and the public's understanding of the continent.
It does show Antarctica in true color. And I think that depiction is probably most important for the public, because the public is a very large customer of this data set. We had them in mind when we put this data set together, because in our future, we have to be better stewards of this planet. The climate of our world is changing no more faster than in the polar regions. Most people have never been to Antarctica, yet LIMA is a way that we can bring Antarctica to them. Anybody with a computer and a web connection can now travel to Antarctica in a virtual sense.
This series of before and after photos shows the difference in quality between the early satellite images of Antarctica and the new LIMA images. Over 3 years, more than 1,000 images on the map were captured by the NASA-built Landsat 7 satellite, creating a resolution 10 times greater than ever seen before. The map will be a valuable tool for planning scientific expeditions and will be important in helping interpret changes in the environmental landscape. And for those wanting to see Antarctica without leaving the comfort of home, it's now just a click away. This is probably the most poisonous animal in the world, the golden poison frog. But like many species, it's under threat of extinction. Fortunately, frogs of all kinds have good friends on side.
The methods of conserving frogs are more simple and direct than for many more complex animals. I mean, breeding pandas in captivity is very difficult. And there are some species of frogs which are very difficult, but there are others which they will simply breed if you give them the chance. And what's more, once you've solved the problem of the conditions they need, then they breed many of species. They breed in huge numbers. Lots of people will know I remember seeing, certainly when they were young or when I was young, ponds which are absolutely full, absolutely solid with frog spawn.
At London Zoo, Sir David was helping publicise the amphibian art conservation programme.
They're all in decline, unfortunately, in the wild. We think as many as 3,000 of the 6,000 species of amphibians are in trouble. And it's a combination of factors that includes habitat loss and hunting. But one of the most important factors is disease. And unfortunately for those animals that are affected by a disease called chytrid fungus, there is at the moment no way of protecting them in the wild. Amphibian Arc is a consortium of zoos and aquariums and museums and botanical gardens who are all working together to have frogs in captivity to ensure that they are safe for the foreseeable future until we can find a way to deal with this disease in the wild.
On his travels, Sir David has come across some rather interesting frogs.
The frog that I remember very well was one that lives in Patagonia, in the southern cold tip of South America, where the males, when the female lays the egg and they've been fertilized, the male eats the eggs, you think. But the egg doesn't go into his stomach, it goes into his throat pouch, which he uses to make his song. And in there, this egg hatches into a tadpole, grows into a tadpole, grows its legs, and then when it's fully formed as a tiny little baby froglet, the male frog goes, and this little frog comes out of his mouth. Now that is something to see.
Sir David took the opportunity to have a close look at the golden poison frog, not normally a safe option in the wild. Evolving from fish, amphibians have been around for hundreds of millions of years. With this international conservation effort, hopefully they could be around for a while longer. It's the sound of life, and it's our most precious asset, water. But in many countries, it has also been our most squandered and neglected resource. Now, finding water, making it clean, and protecting it are shaping up as big issues and big money. At a recent exhibition marketing Israeli products to foreign investors, businesses showed some of the innovative products they've developed to combat water problems.
We apply technologies that we were developed for solar air conditioning for water supply. The concept is based on physical process that when we evaporate liquid, mainly water, the temperature of the remain water is reduced. So if we reduce temperature, we can condense humidity. You can have a pipe, put it in the desert, put it wherever you wish, assuming that there is 15% relative humidity and more, and you have water based on solar energy only.
Another company can turn this into this in just a few minutes.
People who have no access to fresh water, no access to safe water, can use our device called Sulis, which is a self-contained unit. It has a very sophisticated design system inside that will filter and purify water. What you do out in the bush or in the Ganges River or wherever you are, you take a bottle, a standard Coke bottle or any water bottle, you fill it from that source. You don't have to worry about any of the matter that's in it. You drop in your chlorine tablet and wait 8 minutes. You then push on the Sulis device. One of our patents is on the universal connector to any standard size bottle. You open it up, pour it out. As you can see, it works mostly on gravity. Ready to drink, and you're good to go. L'chaim.
Another product, a portable luminometer, can detect the presence of unseen and potentially fatal chemical toxins.
We have developed a novel system that uses luminescent bacteria to determine chemical toxicity in drinking water. So you can use this system to determine a wide spectrum of chemical toxicants in water that might be put in the water either intentionally or by accident. And within 15 minutes, you get a response. With this portable luminometer, you can go out to the field and test the water on site.
Other technologies on display included irrigation methods, waste treatment and desalination techniques, all part of the growing global trade in water technology, which is forecast to reach $537 billion by 2010. Kenya's Nairobi National Park, where wild animals roam freely, is also home to Richard Koitemet Ogeli. Every day he travels long distances, trekking through the plains to the rough road that borders the park. It is here, at an extraordinary art studio, that Richard works. He is a glassblower and is probably the first Maasai glassblower in the world. It's a job that has meant great change and opportunity for him.
Last month I was in Netherlands and I have gone there to teach some people about the glass. And some of my age people in here are just ghetto people. So I like this job because it's making me to go outside the other countries.
Anselm Crozer set up the Hot Glass Studio in the mid-1990s, making unique art pieces entirely from recycled glass.
The big idea is to somehow reduce our carbon footprint. Our maxim, we've been recycling for many, many years. We don't just recycle glass, we also recycle metal and paper and plastics.
Even the tiniest glass shards are reused in sun catchers and mosaics, or melted to make spun beads for the famed Maasai beadwork.
My motto is everything is unique, nothing is wasted, so it's important for us to make beautiful stuff out of old trash.
Products include delicate stemware, tableware, tiles, stained glass, chandeliers, and the popular dalle de verre, or faceted glass bricks. Every single piece is a true work of art.
Our vision is to become some sort of an educational facility to teach Africans on our continent how to blow glass and to make it one of the crafts. There's too few glass blowing studios and we're very lonely here, and so we'd like to create some more.
Anselm's hot glass workshop expands on the original stained glass studio established in 1979 by his mother, well-known muralist Nani Crozer. It also takes in several other art disciplines, including sculpture, metalwork and pottery. Dozens of local people have been trained in these skills and are now employed at the studio, enjoying a better quality of life. In high demand as an artist, with works on prominent display throughout East Africa, Nani Crozer also continues to improve the lives of local people through practical community projects.
The Maasai community, I found a lot of the women were unable to read and write, and therefore are being really taken for a ride by the men in their families. They can't deal with the title deeds, they can't deal with the reports from schools, and maybe even voting cards as we are coming up to voting time. So we started a illiteracy program.
It was Nani's idea to set up a Rudolf Steiner school in 1992, which today teaches around 100 Maasai children. The school's farm grows herbs and vegetables, including the anti-malaria herb Artemisia. The studio also awards scholarships, supports a local orphanage, repairs roads and plants trees. All materials and fuels are recycled, and even the steam-driven furnace uses old oil. Many of the studio's employees live on the complex, forming a small and vibrant community. Streams of people from all over the world travel the bumpy road that leads to this artistic oasis. Here they find a special ambiance of grazing wild animals, sculptures and busy artisans working happily to create beautiful pieces of artwork, jewellery and homewares, all from recycled glass. To the visitor, this is an exquisite glass wonderland. Join us again when we bring you more of what matters to keep our world green.